Good to go.
All right. Public communications. And we have Connecticut DEP.
Right, so that's just a notice of the re-up of the permit.
On the permit.
No, yeah, no activities proposed.
Any others?
No.
No. Approval of the minutes of September 14th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th.
I have a question about them.
Okay, we have a second first.
Second.
Your question?
Number VII 1, the first paragraph under Drosdick Drive.
Read it, Barbara.
The sentence starts, not the sentence, the line starts, forwarded by staff that they have reviewed that calls for conditions for erosion controls too.
Are you looking at?
What month is it? The right
I don't think that's, the minutes are. September
Maybe I read
14th.
the wrong ones.
Yeah, September 14th. So what you said, where are you one more time? Only item on? In Flanders Development, is that one? Zero Drosdick Drive on. this
Okay,
one.
then I read the wrong ones.
All right, well, that's good.
Well, I was wondering what they were trying to say in that sentence, but that's away from being gone.
Yeah.
All right, other questions?
Isn't that funny?
Nothing? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Abstentions? All right. 0 High Street.
You want to do October 3rd?
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely. I'll make a motion to approve the special meeting October 3rd. I did it.
You did it. We had a second. All right. Discussion? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Abstentions? All right.
Could I just go back quickly? So are we not going to talk about that? Not that I need to or want to talk about that DEP permit, but we're not, that's just it. It's just a notification. Just a notification. Okay, yeah. Well, because it was such an extensive tome, as it were. Okay. You got a copy, planning and zoning got a copy, conservation got a copy. Yep. And then my only other thing, was there anything new? There seemed like there was something on Flanders Road that might be in the future, or did I misunderstand that? Just entirely possible. No, I don't remember. I don't have it with me. I don't know. Greg,
I don't bring one
Maybe a future extension of Flanders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would just again have to come in front of us, blah, 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 all of that.
Maybe, yeah, if there are wetlands.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Quaker Farm Road Bridge Replacement.
High Street first. Right? Yes. Isn't High Street on the?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Tabitha, do you want to promote your place? So this is Tabitha's project.
He's got that. Look,
I already am a panelist.
Well, no, I'll promote Jim Bernardo.
Oh, okay.
All right, Jim, it looks like you're on and you should have the ability to share your screen.
I don't think he heard you.
the wonders of technology. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, there he is.
Jim, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can share. You should be able to share your
Oh,
screen.
there we go. Start video. Okay. Hey, believe it or not, this is like one of the first times I've actually done this, so bear with me. Okay. Sharing, how do I share my screen? More?
Down at
It's
the
in the
bottom,
middle.
there's a button that says share screen.
Okay. I do not see that. Oh, there it is. Share screen. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, are we ready?
Yes.
Ready? Okay, so hi, everyone. I'm Jim Bernardo and I'm a land surveyor here in Connecticut. And I'm representing the property it's called 0 High Street. It's across from Mystic Manor. Some of you may recall there was a permit issued back last year. It was April of 21 it was issued. It was permit number, I believe it's 2020-534-12, and it was for slope stabilization along the back part of this property. That has been completed, and the owner would now like to try to subdivide this into 2 lots. It's 43,000 square foot lot, roughly 1 acre. The wetlands were delineated by Joe Thoreau last year. There actually are no wetlands on this specific property, but your 100-foot upland review area does fall on this property. So you can see from the PDF file, the red line with the numbers by it, those are the wetlands flags. And then I've indicated the 100-foot upland review area. This is an RS20 zone. If we move to the next page, there we go. We're not proposing any activity, obviously, in the wetlands. It is on the adjacent property, as I said, but he'd like to subdivide this into 2 properties with 2, pretty moderate size houses. He's proposing like 1,200 square foot capes with 2-car garages. There'll only be a small amount of activity for grading in this area here for the construction of this one house, and then the installation of footing drains for the house, for both of the houses going off the back of the slope. We've indicated we have, silt fence at the limits of clearing. This currently now is, just all vegetated because of the repairs that were done and the remediation that was done with the previous permit. So there's no tree clearing or anything. It's cleared all the way back to the stone wall on the back property line. The current property owner pretty much boarded in that condition. He kind of inherited some problems there that he wasn't aware of. But again, he did apply for a permit. He did remediate the slope and stabilize the slope. There was a plan that was prepared by Ed Wenke last year that the commission approved, and he did go through with that work. So his intent again is to try to subdivide this into 2 building lots. There's no activity in the wetlands, just some activity, some minor activity with regards to grading and some discharges for some footing drains in the upland review area.
I just want to state for the record that I'm on the board of trustees of the Mary Jo Baker East Sanctuary.
Oh, that's where this is.
Question?
Well, I just one question, on that one lot, I guess it would be the southerly or west. Is there a separate garage? Is that what the 2 buildings are? It's like a.
Yeah, this is a detached garage. Let me see if I can, let me see if I can bring it in for you a little bit. Here we go. Oops. Yeah, this is a detached 2-car garage. This is a little cape. Again, it's about 1,200 square feet. And this one here is also a cape style house, but this one has an attached 2-car garage to it. It's my understanding that he is actually building this for himself. And this is the configuration that he wants, and this would be a lot for sale or for his development and for sale.
And then just one other question, in that part of the upland review area and the grading that we see, is that already there? Is that part of what the remediation was? I didn't think it came all the way up there.
This is, well, what he did was he puts this is a stone, I guess it's a retaining wall, but it's a stone slope down here at the bottom to hold up the hill. And then this is the existing topography from that remediation, correct? That what you see there, that's an as-built condition.
Would it be possible to sidewalk this and see what it looks like now, since we had the pleasure to be out there before?
We could.
And if we did sidewalk that, would it be possible to put the corners or more where, I guess, where the footing drains are gonna be, the area, and just
Sure, we can.
out there, please.
Sure, we can do that for you. Just the footing drain locations?
Well, I guess for me, I kind of like the corner of that one garage that's attached.
This one over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That corner, way up that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then,
maybe if you could just do the back corners of both of those
Yeah.
properties, since they're so close to the upland review area, and that way you can have a good idea of where we're at.
Okay, you kind of broke up there a little bit. So you're both houses, or just basically this house and this garage on this side?
Do the other house as well.
The other house as well, back line of this house, and then if I'm going to be out there staking that, I can give you a couple of corners of this structure over here for you as well.
2 houses and a garage.
Yep, no problem. I'll take care of that.
And then one other question, the houses, the way you have them shown there, are they at the setback, the required setback for the road there?
Yes,
Or
they are.
They're back, or they're at that point?
No, they are at the zoning, the required setbacks for zoning.
Got it, okay.
And something I might also want to note, it's not really your consideration, would be under the planning commission's review for subdivision. They will be extending the municipal sewer. It actually stops down here, and they will be extending it up to the site. And both these houses will be served by the municipal sewer system. There'll be no on-site septics for either one of these.
That true with water also?
No, the water's there. The water, here's the water line in the street. And so the water line is there. They'll just be making some taps out to the street for the water line.
That red line, the 100-foot line,
Yes.
This one here, yep.
that small garage completely out within the 100-foot
Oh, it is, yes.
Yes, this is correct.
on that lot that is.
Buildable.
Yeah, well, that is outside of the upland review.
Yeah.
We have others that we're gonna look at. Or do you wanna wait? Or how do you wanna
Probably
plan?
so.
We'll let you know when we're coming.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. All right, will that be a weekend site walk?
No,
No,
It'll be during the week sometime? Okay.
After 3:30 during the week sometime.
Oh, we better do it soon. We change the clocks pretty soon. It'll be dark by 3:30.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Sure.
We don't want to think about that though. Okay, all right. I'll look forward to that notice of when the meeting is, and I'll make sure that there'll be a representative there.
Great, thank
All
you,
right.
Jen.
Okay, thank you all. Have a good night.
Same to you.
Thank you. Did you want to determine that site walk date and time now, or?
You know, Tabitha, I'm thinking this next application, they will also want to walk. So maybe when they see
Okay.
what, they'll figure out a time and a date.
Quaker Farm.
Quaker Farm. Well, good evening, everybody. Greg Hanover, Director of Public Works for the town. Online, I have Shelley Plude, who is a consultant, SLR, formerly Malone and Broom. You might be more familiar with that firm name, but they're now called SLR. I just want to give a brief background on the project, and Shelley will get into the details of our proposal. Quaker Farm Road, if you're not familiar with it, is off of Lambtown Road, pretty close to the Ledger town line. The culvert that's there carries Haley's Brook under Quaker Farm. It's a twin 5-foot diameter corrugated metal pipe. There's 2 5-foot diameter pipes right next to each other. And about 2017, I got a call from our highway department that the road was kind of settling at the culvert. So I went up there, and lo and behold, the top of the pipe had dropped about 4 inches from the head wall. The whole bottom of the metal culvert had just rusted away. So the road is starting to cave in, and obviously without a full pipe, you have no structural strength at all. So we immediately closed the road back in 2017. It wasn't until 2021 that we finally got funds to go ahead with the design. That's when the town hired SLR. And then we got them on board. We started doing the design permitting. In this past budget year, 2023, we did get the construction funds to build this bridge. And we also applied to the state local bridge program, and they're going to pay for 50% of the cost of this. They've committed to that. So that's kind of where we are. SLR did look at a few different options for us. They looked at box culverts, arches, bridges, and we ended up going with a concrete pre-stress, actually a bridge, 26-foot span, natural stream bottom. It was, and Shelley will probably get into it, but it was slightly more expensive than the other options, but it was the best for the least impacts to the wetlands for construction and for permanent impacts. So with that, I'll turn it over to Shelley. She can run through some of the details, and then happy to answer any questions.
Great.
Just some
Thanks.
slides.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Oh, good.
Okay, all right, I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everybody see?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, Greg already kind of gave you a quick oversight or overview rather of where our project is located, just a quick aerial. You know, it's an area that we obviously have a great deal of wetland areas. And I'll show those more clearly on the next couple of slides, but Haley's Brook kind of winds and bifurcates. There's a few splits in the channel as it approaches the bridge or the existing culvert, and then extends downstream to, there's a spillway that generally controls the hydraulics at this site. That's about 1,000 feet or so downstream. There is this sort of secondary tributary that flows under Lambtown and into the watercourse just downstream of our crossing. There is a FEMA 100-year floodplain here. It does not have any elevations assigned to it though. Our modeling indicated that the existing twin pipe culvert, the roadway will overtop in the 50-year storm. The Army Corps standard is obviously the 100, so it is undersized. You can see that it's largely controlled by that. That's the location of the spillway downstream of the bridge, and that's really what's governing the hydraulics. And then the existing culvert itself is also influencing things because it is a restriction. So that is creating some backup north of Haley's Quaker Farm Road as well. Greg talked about the failure of the culvert. Here's a couple of photos of what that looks like. You know, there's a few different things going on here. Obviously, there's a great deal of debris that's getting trapped. You can kind of see it in this upper left-hand photo. The pipe is actually getting pulled in from all that material clogging and then becoming under pressure when the water level rises. There's that pipe separation that caused the sinkhole to start developing in the roadway up above. You can see a little bit of that material loss that's been occurring behind that head wall on the upstream side there, and some more shots of the condition of that pipe where you can see there's the steel is almost completely corroded in spots. And then just a general overview of what the site looks like. Obviously, we have a lot of standing water at this site. I don't think this is hardly ever dry. It's because of that spillway, and there's a quick shot of what that looks like downstream. So as Greg mentioned, our proposed replacement structure is a 26-foot span bridge. We did look at a couple of options, including a closed bottom box and then a 3-sided box culvert. And in order to build either one of those, we were looking at having to do a temporary bypass of Haley's Brook. So we were going to have to try and stick a pipe in maybe west of the structure and temporarily bypass things around the site, just because we really wouldn't be able to construct either one of those options with flows in the current location. Doing the open bottom bridge allows us to construct those abutments, fully construct the new channel, and then get out of the water and set the superstructure. So it did have a smaller degree of impact on the environment compared to the other two options that we looked at. And what's driving the size of the span, we went from 2 5-foot diameter pipes to 26-foot bridge, is really the Army Corps requirements. So Army Corps and DEP want to see structures with watersheds of this size passing the 100-year storm with a foot of freeboard. And then there's also, they have the requirement that structures span 1.2 times bank full width. Bank flow width was a little hard for us to define out here, but our wetland soil scientists did go out when they flagged the site and looked at a couple locations, tried to gauge what Haley's Brook would look like outside of the influence of this crossing and then the spillway downstream. And that's how we came up with that 26-foot span. And our hydraulic modeling, it does show that this will pass the 100-year storm. Once this is replaced, there'll be a foot of freeboard relative to the low point in the roadway, which is off the bridge to the west here. So our retaining walls, the abutments will be cast in place concrete. They will be pile supported so that we don't have to dig as deep. The deeper we dig, the more impacts that we potentially have. And so putting this on piles helps reduce the amount of excavation, helps us stay higher. We'll obviously be dealing with groundwater while we're constructing this. I'll get into the construction staging in a little bit, but as far as our impacts go, it's really associated with needing to make some grading modifications. Right now, the grade slopes more or less straight down from the edge of pavement. And in order to have guide rail, we really need to have a little bit of a shelf. So we've had to fudge that grading out a little bit and then grade it down. But you can see our impacts here. So the purple is our permanent impact below the ordinary high water. The green is our temporary impact. Obviously, once this is built, we will now have a natural channel, which doesn't exist today. So there'll be a significant improvement there. And then the orange denotes the areas where we'll have permanent wetland impacts. So again, that's really the grading associated with trying to be able to fit properly installed guide rail on the shoulders there. We are proposing to restore all of that graded area with a conservation seed mix. So it wouldn't be traditional lawn. It would be a seed mix of native species that are appropriate for this location. And we're also proposing to, for the riprap that we're going to place in front of the abutments, it will be rounded. And it will be overlain with native stream bed material to provide some protection for the abutments, but without disturbing the channel. So our impacts, generally relatively low, under 1,000 square feet, permanent impacts below ordinary high water line, and just about 350, a little less than 350 square feet, permanent impacts to the wetlands. The floodplain is, it's because we're opening this up, it's a net cut. The roadway is shown all as fill, but we're looking at in the roadway an inch at most to just make some crown corrections to the roadway in the limits of reconstruction. But it is, it's a total net cut of about 23 cubic yards to take that existing culvert out and turn this into a clear span. And then this is the elevation view of the bridge. Because we are going from 2 small pipes to a larger bridge, we created a low flow channel so that we're not just releasing all of this water downstream. Obviously, it's still controlled by that spillway, but we're helping to kind of keep things confined. So during those low flow events, we're not, dewatering the area upstream of the bridge to not have that secondary impact on the wetlands that are upstream. And then this was part of our design as well to keep that channel elevation higher to preserve the water surface elevations in those low flow storms. But that's generally what the channel is going to look like once that's completed. And that will be reconstructed with native stream bed material rather than angular riprap or something non-native. When we're building this, the abutments, the excavation for that will be confined in cofferdams. So they'll drive sheet pile cofferdams, install the piles, install the abutments, reconstruct the channel. We're supplementing that with a temporary pipe just to help control the water during excavation. There'll be a lot of groundwater that they'll be working with. So this also allows us to do that channel grading completely confined, so they can do one side of the channel at a time and shift that back and forth and keep the site contained while they're doing all of this work. Once the abutments are complete, they can complete the channel and they'll be out of the water for the remainder of the project. So placing the superstructure, doing all the roadway work, they'll be out of the water at that point. And that was another benefit of this alternative compared to the other ones that we looked at. This allowed us to get out of the water quicker. And just as far as the other coordination that we've done to date, we have been cleared by the State Historic Preservation Office. They gave us a no adverse effect. DEP has given us, a cursory sign off. We're still waiting for the formal paperwork to come in, but because of that spillway downstream, fisheries is not, concerned with fish passage. Obviously our permanent condition will be significantly better than existing, and the temporary condition is going to be more or less what's there today. We have a few NDDB species. I believe whippoorwill was on the list, but it's largely time of year for tree clearing and things like that, which will be included in the documents. Northern long-eared bat and monarch butterfly were flagged as federal species, but we don't have any hybernicula for the northern long-eared bat. And it's not a site that's particularly conducive to monarchs either. So from that perspective, we should be good with all of our NDDB species that may or may not be at the site. And then DEP and Army Corps have agreed to qualify this project under a self-verification, which will be their lowest permit classification. So, and then in addition to that, we're obviously seeking a permit through your commission. And that's concludes what I have. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
How long will you be in the water?
How long will we be in the water? We haven't developed a construction schedule yet, but it'll probably be, let's say, 6 to 8 weeks, probably, that they'll need to build the abutments. They'll need, to probably take a week to drive the cofferdams, and then a week to drive all the piles. And then it's usually a few weeks at a time for each concrete pour. So, 2 months sounds, I think, would be fairly reasonable. The construction season in total, I would say about 6 to 7.
And then I had one other question back a few slides when you were showing the new bottom of the bed. That one.
Mhm.
Can you just explain that to me a little bit more? I'm sorry to be so feeble-minded.
Sure. So we're basically now trying. Whoops! I'll try and zoom in if I can. We're trying to match. We're actually raising the invert at the upstream end slightly. It's a little hard to see, but the existing grade. So there's, as is typical for these types of culverts, there's a little bit of scour hole upstream, and then the invert of the existing pipe is about. I'm sure you can't really see my cursor, but let me see if I can.
So is this a cross section?
So this is the profile of the channel. So this is if I'm standing on the road and I've cut the bridge in half.
Okay.
And this is what the channel is going to look like. So we set this elevation, if the inverts of the pipes are actually slightly down here, but if we actually lowered the channel, because we're playing a balancing game, because we want to lower the water surface elevation during the major flood events, but during like that 1 year storm, we don't want to impact that number because we don't want the wetlands to decrease. So this profile was developed from our hydraulic modeling to maintain those water surface elevations at the 1 year storm and under.
And how do you maintain that profile, if you will, when you have moving water?
Well, it's very under these conditions, it's actually very slow moving. So the velocities are pretty low. That was one of the things that we looked at when we were developing the design is, did we need to reinforce this with some sort of stone weir? But the velocities that we're looking at is very low. So we're not anticipating a great deal of scour. Unless that spillway downstream were to one day get removed, it would, change things. But, if you go out there, there's very little velocity under
So
normal.
what will you use for the substrate there? What just existing material that's there?
Stone weir.
No, it's not going to be a stone weir.
Oh,
We
so
can
we
do
use-
one. you know, we can do one, but the velocities didn't,
Right.
didn't indicate one was necessary.
So what would you, what's your plan to use for the?
It would be
substrate?
material that's consistent to what's out there, so it'll be a mix of fines and cobbles if necessary. The objective is to match as closely as possible the material that's in the channel today.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Questions?
I have a question. I think I know where this area is.
Mhm.
Is this,
We have the sidewalk.
is this right before the horse farm, the Avery horse farm? And this connects two neighborhoods, right? The Lambtown Road and the.
The Haley Road.
And it
Yeah.
hasn't been working like for a very long time.
5 years.
It's got Jersey barriers there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one.
It is a secondary means to the Lambtown Road neighborhood. I mean, right now, Lambtown Road is closed in Ledger. I mean, there's
Right,
gates that you
yeah,
get through
yeah.
117 like you used to be able to, but in an emergency, there's really only one way in and out of Lambtown unless you go all the way through Ledger. This kind of opens up.
Sure. Because the
Secondary
extension
access.
through the horse farm now is not.
Yeah.
So that's the point about this. So there's really just, these guys have one way out.
Can I ask one question?
Mhm.
One way out, and then don't they have?
Yeah, so you said the banks were vertical now. Do you think this will improve the erosion of the banks? Stream banks?
Yes, yeah, because we're gonna, you know, we'll be regrading this whole area. And restabilizing this. Are you referring to the banks along the channel or the banks or the roadway embankment?
Well, I thought you meant along the channel, they were vertical now.
Pipes.
It slopes down. It's more that it's not that they're vertical, it's just they slope down. The grading we need to do for guide rail to be installed properly, there really needs to be in a shelf. There's, you know, configurations that we need, or dimensions that we need to meet for the guide rail to be installed properly. So we need to just create like a 2-foot shelf and then slope down from there. These banks are steeper on this side, but they're not, no, they're not, they're, I wouldn't say they're vertical. The erosion on the upstream side is really because of that material that's getting lost through the head wall because of that pipe separation, which will obviously be addressed when this comes out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd like to look.
Oh, I think we definitely need to look at this.
And just remind me if we, what's the threshold for public hearing versus non-public hearing? I ask every time, that's because.
So generally, I mean, it's whether you find this to be a significant impact on the wetland. Generally, it's 100 square feet of disturbance or fill. But that's not a hard and fast regulation. So do you want to wait to classify this until you site walk it?
Yes, please. Yeah, you can do that. Does that wreck anybody?
This is Dave's project, by the way. So I'm sorry, I'm jumping in here, but.
That's right, that's all.
So what do you want to set us, the site walk at? Next week? You know,
Yeah,
Monday,
Yeah, Monday's good.
Yeah, whatever you guys
Monday, all right?
want to do.
Danny?
What number is that?
17?
17?
Yeah.
3:30, can you make it, or you like it a little tiny bit later?
No, actually, 3:30 is fine.
3:30? 3:30.
3:30 Monday.
17. Okay, and we'll do both those. So which one are we gonna go first?
That's the next
That's my
question.
question.
Which one are you doing first?
Let's do the Quaker town first. Yeah, then-
Yeah, that's the furthest one out.
Yeah.
Back.
yeah.
So between 4 and 4:15.
All right, very good.
Would you like me to attend that site meeting?
That's up to you and Greg, really.
Okay, all
We'll you guys notice of it and you guys can decide what you want to do.
right, thank you.
I figured, yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Thanks,
thank
Greg.
you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Good night. All right, 147 Pequot Avenue.
So there's something, I'm just gonna let you guys know, there's definitely something funky going on with the camera, there's, but we'll see.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what all these numbers are, but I think you can still see the plan.
The last one, we had a young person doing it, and he was like,
Yep.
All right, I'm Susan Marquardt with Global Engineering. We were before you a couple of months ago for our inland wetland permit. We also went to planning and zoning and got approval for the subdivision. Since then, we have a DOT review letter that asked us to put a plunge pool on the lower end of the culvert under the driveway. And that is in the wetland pocket. So in talking with town staff, it was recommended that we come back and review it to determine if we need a new inland wetland permit or how we want to handle this additional activity in the wetland.
Why do they want a punch pool?
Just to slow velocity down, so you don't get erosion downs, right?
Right.
And that's, you know,
Yeah, that's the basic idea of a plunge pool. So when you have whatever drainage comes through, it'll just slow it down and protect it so it doesn't scour or wash it out. So
Just walk us through that would involve.
yes, I have a detail which may be a little bit clearer. There's on there. So this is the detail for the plunge pool. Basically, it is just 18 inches of riprap. It's just a little, indent in at the lower end of the culvert, and they'll just have riprap.
So how much are you excavating then? How deep is that?
It's 18 inches deep.
18 is the riprap plunge pool.
The top of the stones or the bottom?
That's to the bottom.
so this is a plunge pool, in a.
I'm not sure we need a permit.
I've never seen water in that thing.
I know, it's a lot of
Just saying, that's why I'm like,
I have,
why did you need a punch?
I have seen water.
Well,
who knows?
Yes,
Um,
but I don't think we need a permit, for this is
No.
something that probably should have been done.
So it wasn't, I couldn't tell Susan it's okay to install it without talking to
Yeah.
folks. And I didn't want to slow them down. So they went ahead and applied for a permit in case you decided you do want to permit this. So they're in the system. You wouldn't be able to take action until the next meeting if you decide that. If you decide there's no permit necessary, then you just give everything back to you. Your call.
So it's based on your advice. I mean,
I don't see it as needing a permit.
I don't either.
I suppose the only thing was if someone were to take us to court and we didn't have the proper permit, but I don't. I get in theory what you're saying, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you feel like you.
Can we amend,
modify
can
the
we
permit,
amend?
You can, but again, you'll
So
need
have
to
to
do
wait.
that at the next meeting.
But it's a DEP thing, they have the
Yeah.
DOT.
DOT,
Yeah,
Department of Transportation, they have the onus since it's on their property.
I'll do whatever. I tend to like to do the right thing. That's all. I just because I've been in a different position. How badly is that going to mess you up if you have to wait 2 weeks? Pretty bad.
I don't think 2 weeks is going to hold up the process.
I don't have any problem. I'm happy.
Right.
do this, it's no
Because
worries.
we're still, the plans have gone back to DOT, but we're still waiting on their official approval as well.
They don't move too quickly.
Like, But,
Yeah, I just would suggest that we err on the side of just make a quick modification. That's all.
Legally,
Yeah, I don't know.
We will have this on the next agenda for action.
Yeah, it's okay, right?
Okay.
Sorry about that.
that's okay. That's why we came back to you to
yes, they classify it as a minor.
make sure everything's good.
Would the classify as a minor for modifying?
I mean, yeah, because essentially if you're taking action on it as though it is.
Motion to classify the Pequot property as minor. I should say you're in a butter too.
Yes,
I think you accused yourself last time.
I did.
Right.
I'm not sure that's important on this.
But you just have it on the record.
Yeah, but I definitely on the butter.
Definitely in a butter.
Yes. We have a second on this.
I seconded it.
Okay. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed. Abstentions. Right. Maybe right about legally.
We've come this far. Let's stay the course.
We'll say good night. Good night. Good night.
Oh,
That was fast talking, Dave. Good job. I thought that first one, I read that thing so carefully, I thought we were gonna have to, I don't know, I misunderstood that.
yeah.
Why are they telling us all this when we already did it?
Yeah, it's just a required notification.
Yeah.
It's all working fine. Everything's going great.
All right. That brings us down to 0 Flanders Road.
Right.
So they're not ready yet. We haven't received revised plans. Is that right,
Where
Tamara?
the people were.
Right, I mean, I really don't have much to report other than they're working on the revisions and they're tightening up the plans. So,
Nice to see those plans.
I have a few
You know.
lists of questions.
Look at them and, you know, you gotta really. Maybe they'll do that.
You're gonna have to ask those questions when you're a little less feisty.
A little less feisty, huh? Oh,
Should he hold on to his questions or ask them now?
It's on the agenda. I mean, you have, it's just, yeah, I mean, Tabitha may not be able to answer them, but if you have concerns, go ahead and lay them out.
now, I'm very concerned with piping an intermittent water course to start. Very concerned. I can't remember any case where we've done that.
Yep, when I said that, Deb said we did one when.
We had, at the massage therapy school, it was not as long a piping as
Yeah.
this is. It was just to get a driveway crossing.
Right, it was just a little.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the
like
woods.
this, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't in the woods.
No,
Honestly.
no, that's true. It was not.
It was in a developed area.
It was, but you allowed a pipe for a driveway.
But then the grade there too, with that drop off.
Yeah.
From that end.
And,
What about that?
well, yeah,
Edges?
the slope down to the wetlands is,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, it's a recipe for erosion. I don't, especially if you're tearing up the whole hillside, I find that hard to picture that without adding a lot of material down into the wetlands.
Yeah, what am I talking about? They want to put edges on that whole pavement. What's it?
No, they're putting
A
retaining
wall.
wall.
Retaining wall. That's
Retaining
right.
wall.
Essentially all around the development.
And at some point, that retaining wall, didn't they say something like 6 feet? Yeah.
I think it was 4, but yeah, we wanted to see more detail on the wall.
Anyway, I share those concerns also.
I'm trying not to be as feisty.
You're doing a good job.
But I'm, to say the least, I'm very concerned with ripping that site around and flattening it all out and cutting the hillside down and doing all that work right above major wetlands behind it. There's significant
See
wetlands.
that field nature. Just the application.
Oh, it would definitely be major. Not too much more. They're going for more staff review or revised plans.
Yeah, we're waiting for revised plans. I mean, Tabitha brought up a number of these comments that you guys are saying, so they're aware of that. And we'll see what plans, how they react to that.
How they react to that.
Yeah.
Nothing against you.
No, I mean, it's just significant development for that site with the amount of wetlands and the.
We just have to see what they come
What,
forward with.
what you're gonna come back with, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Probably what was expected, comment wise. All right. The meeting schedule.
Is that in our?
It was at the very last, and it was 100 page.
Right, you see me scrolling through?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very long.
there was so much in this
I
one.
mean, are you all good with? what
The
we're doing
second
right
and the
now?
fourth.
It's still the second and the fourth, it's still
Yeah.
7 o'clock,
November
it's
is
still in
one.
this room.
Yeah,
It's still one meeting a month, July and August, November and December.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah,
Was it,
yeah.
We need a
need a
I
motion?
make a motion to approve the meeting schedule for 2023.
Ouch.
I know, ouch is right. I won't be here February 22nd for the record.
You have a second?
Annie second.
Annie? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, extensions? All right. The only thing I had was some renewals, which I've mostly taken care of.
How long's Annie been on? She's up for renewal already?
You know, you guys only have 2-year terms. Every other commission has 4. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and probably I would argue that the core group here has been on for longer than most people serving have been alive. Just
Yeah,
saying.
well,
This
it's
is
Dave, you've
just
been
saying.
here over 30 years, right? Because you
37
and I are
years.
about 28.
37 years this
I
year.
was pregnant with Emma and she's gonna be 30. So
Okay,
you do
because we
that.
came on the same
I know.
time, so it's.
So I don't know the date, but I'm telling you.
Less than about 32.
Yeah, you came on for a lane thin, I think.
Yeah, you were,
Yeah,
yeah, we've
I
all
did.
been on a long.
In the other building.
Pepper Ann.
We used to
Yeah,
meet in the
yeah.
basement.
And Courtney.
So it's 2 years, that's
Courtney, yeah. There, yeah.
Well, what can we do about that? How
We
do
don't
we
need to-
change
We
it?
don't need to
Well,
do it.
we're starting to change it. We have some new people.
No,
the
she means this 2
the
year thing.
term.
Oh, no.
They go
It's in the charter.
2 years is a long time
That's-
anyway.
I don't know if it's.
I don't know, they're going pretty
It's
bad.
submit, but anyway, it's a big ordeal.
Yeah.
A big ordeal.
We'll live with it.
Easier just to.
Yeah.
At least they're not making you come in for interviews, right?
I have done that
I know
several
you have, I
times.
think this is taking the place of that.
So Dave has to, he has to do
Oh,
an
that was
evaluation
pretty
on
bad.
it.
Oh.
We have ways of doing these things.
We have Eunice to thank for no interviews. She refused to go.
That's what I said. And Deb's like, please. And I said, Deb, I love you, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
You have anything?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I just have one thing. There, we had a meeting, a presentation today with DOT. In 2025, they're gonna be replacing the culvert at 215 at Beebe Cove and the Anderson or Avalonia Marsh.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
state
you're right.
project, Tidal Wetlands, but 2025. Yeah.
They did a lot of, they were out there this summer though.
Oh, they're doing the design. Yeah,
Oh, that's
absolutely.
what they're doing.
Yep.
Oh. Well, it's been crumbling for as
Yes.
long as I've lived there.
Yes.
It
Right.
probably would last another 50 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, think of the 1917 bridge under Route 1 there.
Does that have culverts under there too, the way this other bridge that we just saw?
So, yeah, this one actually does, what they're doing is relining them. Yeah. Replacing the sidewalk.
Actually like the idea of this bridge where they're just gonna get. rid
Oh,
of
I
it.
like that too.
It's just having.
Yeah, I
natural-
think it's a big improvement.
It'll really expand the flow area. That's,
And it's just a pretty that they put
in
there.
the long run, will be much better, yeah. There'll be disturbance when it happens, but in the long run.
Yep.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Courtney, we missed you here. Hey.